So hello folks, how are you doing? Here I am, Marcelo, again for another lesson, and in today's lesson we'll be finally updating this area here of the template, this contact form. This will be the last lesson about widget areas in this course. But before we move on to today's lesson, I'll be showing you guys how I did to implement that last section. Actually, I left that as a task for you. So let me see if you managed to complete that task. What I did is I just copied and pasted this structure here with this if block. And I've just, of course, changed the ID here of this widget area. And in the backend, I went ahead and just let me show you. Under appearance widgets and under this hire me widget area here, I added this custom HTML block with the whole content inside it. So I have here an H3 and then the paragraph and then the anchor. As I told you, you could, for example, have chosen to simply create those blocks separately, each one within the block, but that was my choice, right? So let's move on to today's lesson. And as you see, guys, this whole template here, this whole theme is more or less dynamic here now, because all of the text here can be updated by the user, but this area here with the contact form is still hard-coded in the template. So let's go to the code and I'll show you. Because originally this was a form, and this form had this action that was pointing to a contact.php file, which was inside a PHP folder within this template here. But we're not using this HTML structure because it won't work with WordPress. And in order for you to leverage this code and all of the PHP script that was handling this form here, you would need to create a plugin in WordPress and then handle the fields, escaping the fields and doing validations. And that's not the case here. We're not doing this. I don't want to be concerned about security in this theme, and I will let a plugin handle this for me. We'll be installing and using a plugin called Contact Form 7, which is one of the most used plugins for contact forms in WordPress. You can, of course, use another plugin if you're used to using another plugin. For example, there are a lot of other plugins that do the same thing in WordPress, but we'll be using this Contact Form 7, which is very straightforward and easy to use. The result in the front end won't be the same, but that's something that you can handle later with some custom CSS. The documentation itself of this plugin offer you a good help in terms of customization. You can go there and see how to, for example, customize some of the inputs and some of the other elements inside the plugin. All right, so let's move on. Let's go ahead and then just install this plugin within our WordPress. So let's go to plugins here, add new plugin, and look for this Contact Form 7 plugin. It's this one here, so let's click on install now. Activate it. Alright, so we have now this new menu entry here called Contact. Let's click on it. And we have this contact form 1, which is a form that is actually available for us. Let's use it. Just click here or on edit. And we'll be limiting our analysis here to this first tab here called form. Here inside we have some text fields, which are similar to HTML markup with the fields. So I have here 1, 4, 3, 4. Labels and then one submit button. And let's suppose, for example, that your client wants to add another field for the user to inform the city in which he or she is. You could, for example, place the cursor here in this place and use one of these buttons here to add another new field. So for example, let's add a text field here. We can make it required. Click in here. You can choose another name for this field, for example, city, If you want, you can of course use it as a placeholder or just pass the values as a default value to this input field here. For example, using it like this and click in here. We're not doing this, right? Because the other fields are not using the same structure, so let's maintain the same idea here. You can then also, if you want, pass an ID or a class for this new field. So let's, for example, call this city and pass it as a CSS class. We can then use it later to customize this, and just click on this insert tab button here. All right, it's done. Let's use the same structure here we have for the other fields. Let's add a label here and pass, for example, your city, and close the label here too. Another thing we can do is choose another name for this contact form. Let's call it main contact form, and just click here on save to save the new form. And what's next? We can just copy this shortcode here and then pass it to our widget, or if you want, you can also paste in a page or in a post, you name it, right? You'll be using this in our widget area. So let's go ahead and just copy this and move on to our widget area. And under contact, add a new block here. And this new block will be a shortcode block. This one here. Paste the shortcode and then just save and or update this widget area here. All right, so one more thing before we actually display this new widget area in our front end is just update our PHP code. So let's do, for example, let's get rid of this. Actually, let's just cut this and place into a new file, a new temporary file. So we ended up with just this structured div, as we did in the other fields. I think you guys know what to do now. We'll just copy this and then modify or change this ID here inside. Let's use this time contact. Save this now, and then let's move on to the front end and see what we have there. Reload this page. And now we have our form, our new form here. And what about the H3 and the paragraph that we have originally here? We can use different approaches regarding this this area here. For example, if you want, you can create separate blocks for the H3 and then another block for the paragraph, or you can once again use a custom HTML block, or what I think it's even simpler is grab this HTML content here, the paragraph and the H3, copy them, and then place them inside our contact form itself. Here inside, over here. Save this once again, reload this page, and now we got the other elements here inside. Alright guys, as I told you, it's not similar to the original form of the template, but you can use a little bit of CSS to make it similar or the same way as we have in the original template. It's not that difficult. You can also refer to the documentation of the plugin of Contact Form 7. I will leave the link among the extra material of this lesson if you want to go there and try it. But the fact is that this form will work effectively. You can test that later if you want, but you cannot forget to, for example, go there to this mail tab here and fill in with your actual information about your email, about all the data that is related to your email address and server. All right. One of the great advantages of all of this process is that it's highly customizable. So your client will love it because it will be just a matter of removing some of the fields if he or she wants in the future, or adding some other fields using these buttons right here. But of course, this is a WordPress plugin, so you have to always make sure it is updated, and it's easy. You just go to the plugins menu here and then update your plugin. Keep it always updated. So alright then guys, thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you have enjoyed today's lesson. This was the last lesson about widget areas, and I see you guys in the next one. Bye.